going on, fam? We back again. See, here's the thing. It's political season here in the city of Detroit. We're looking to elect the next mayor. So if you guys have followed us, then you know that we've had candidates on, and today is no exception. We have with us Mrs. Saunteel Jenkins. She is a former council person to Detroit City Council. She's a former council president and the former CEO of a local organization here in the city of Detroit. So without further ado, I'm going to give Mrs. Jenkins an opportunity, a few minutes to talk to us about her vision for the city of Detroit if she is indeed elected the next mayor. Mrs. Jenkins, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yes,
And
thank you for
I'm going to
having
let
me.
you go.
Well, I am a lifelong Detroiter, born and raised here on the West Side. Any West Siders?
Oh, yeah. West
All
Side.
West Side.
Oh, West Side.
I acknowledge that silently. Said, mm-hmm.
You can tell by how we talk.
Yep.
Yes. I won't even ask what that means.
Please.
You felt
Yes, I
at home.
will. Do I talk that way too? I did feel at home.
Bingo.
There
Yeah,
you go. We
There
can
you
tell
go.
the West Side.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up near Cody High School.
Okay.
I went to Cass. I used to take 2 buses. What were those spaces?
Oh, no, you're smart.
You're smart.
Hey.
I was a renaissancer, but I'm still glad to have you.
B, don't be trying to see. Now, we're not going to do that. We gonna,
Cass didn't want me. So.
Yeah. Came out all right.
You came out all right. I love all Detroit public schools. My sister graduated from Cody High School. My brother was a freshman at Cody High School the year he passed. My brother passed in 1991. He was shot and killed for his Duke University jacket, which is a part of why I'm so passionate about turning things around in our city and making sure that we have a city where all young people can grow and thrive and live out their greatest dreams safely. Right? Families across this city, kids across the city deserve to be safe. So one of my visions, if I am blessed enough to become the next mayor, I want to be known as the mayor who championed education in the city of Detroit. And I am fully aware that the mayor does not control the schools, but it does not mean the mayor cannot support the schools. There are so many ways that the city and our educational systems can work together to make each other stronger, right? As we talk about how we build and attract the middle class in the city of Detroit, there are 2 ways to do that. You bring new people here, which we welcome all new people, but we should also be keenly focused on building up Detroiters so that they can reach that middle class and have economic mobility. And that's why we have to focus on our schools.
Okay, I thought about this. We were talking prior to coming on, and one of the things for me is when you talk about life-changing decisions and how they come about. My question to you is, what was that moment for you when you said, I'm running for mayor?
So I've had a whole lot of challenges in my life that God has brought me through. One of them was being diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2020. I am strong, healthy, and cancer-free today.
Amen to
Thank
that.
God. Amen.
Good,
Yes.
good.
But facing death and coming through it gives you a renewed sense of purpose. I've known I wanted to be a social worker my entire life before I even knew it was called social work. I've wanted to serve this city. Like when I literally as a kid, I would be like, I want to help abused and neglected kids.
Wow.
I was the kid in school that always took up for people who were being bullied, even though it made me get bullied too. but if there was a kid that nobody would talk to, play with, whatever, I always made space for that child.
Awesome.
But so I've always wanted to serve Detroit. I never wanted to be mayor. I just wanted to serve. And after surviving breast cancer and going through this soul-searching journey for my purpose-driven life, this is where I ended up. I want to give it all, everything I have, to Detroit, and I believe this is the way I can do it and make the greatest impact for the city.
Okay. Second question that I have. Last mayoral election, 2021, 19% of Detroit voters showed up. That was approximately, I think, 92,000. And we've got over 500,000 registered voters in the city. So my question to you is, how do you engage the voters to come to the polls?
Mhm. So that two things. First, there's low voter turnout across this country. So it's not a Detroit issue. It's frankly, it's a democracy issue, right? As a country, as a community, we need to find ways to get people more involved. I think there are two ways, at least two ways. I'm sure there are more. But one is when we talk to people about uh, voting and why it's important, we generally focus on historical facts, which are very important, but it's also important that we make sure people know why voting impacts your everyday, why what the quality of your schools are impacted by who you elect to office, that pothole that ruined your tire rim is about who you elect to office, right? Whether or not you feel safe in your home is impacted by who you elect for office. Your insurance.
Ooh.
We
We want to ask about
Yeah,
that
look.
later.
We know about that
And
around
then there
here.
was a gasp.
Yeah.
Yes, but insurance. And when I said insurance, I was thinking health insurance. But the
That
expressions,
too.
uh, you all were thinking car insurance.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. Yeah.
Car
But all
insurance,
of,
homeowners
like,
insurance,
Oh,
yes,
the
yeah.
whole
all of the above, they're all impacted by elected officials and public policy. My mentor, the first politician I ever worked for, was Mary Ann Mahaffey.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Ann was a social worker as well.
Oh.
But when I was placed in her office and I told her I didn't understand how I was going to learn how to help abused and neglected kids in a politician's office, she said, Saunteel. That's how Mary Ann talked. She was brilliant. But Saunteel, uh, social workers put band-aids on wounds caused by poor public policy.
Mm.
And she said, we need good people to run for office, get in on the front end, create better policy because it reduces the damage on the back end. And that's the kind of conversation we need to have with the community so they understand why voting is important. Yes, it's important because people died for us to have the right to vote.
Yes.
It's also important because when we don't, there are consequences on our everyday lives, and we are seeing it play out every single day
True.
as we speak. And I think the other thing that I hope I will bring to Detroiters to encourage them to get out to vote is that I am one of them. I'm a Detroiter through and through. My life is a reflection of all the good things about the city and all the challenges, all the things that drive people to say, maybe I need to take my kids somewhere else. I've experienced those things. So when you have elected officials, when you have candidates who can actually say, I see you because I've been where you are, I think people are more likely to get involved.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question that you've been asked before, but I want to frame it a different way. So I was talking to my aunt, and in preparing for this show, we talked to a lot of people in our friends and family circle that are
Mhm.
Detroiters and love the city like we all do. And my aunt is a former city employee, DPD. Shout out to you, Auntie.
Yes. Shout out. Thank you for your service. Yes.
But I told her that we had candidates coming on. I told her who we had. And when I said your name, she said, I like her. She said, I was talking to one of my girlfriends about her. And she said, well, I don't like Saunteel Jenkins because she quit. And my aunt said, well, I think, it could have been some reasons behind that and so on and so forth. So what she and I talked about, and the question I'm asking is, what did you learn from stepping away that you would bring back to the role of mayor?
Thank you for that question. And it's so interesting to me. One of the it's one of the questions that I get all the time, right? You quit. And um, as I've said a couple times, our current mayor left his position as prosecutor early to become CEO of the DMC. And I don't recall him getting those questions when he ran for mayor. So it's interesting that as I step up, that becomes the question. And maybe part of it is because people can't find anything else to criticize me on. And I mean my opponents. So that's the thing they're putting out there. But I've been a CEO of a major nonprofit in this community for over 10 years. And when I left city council, I became the CEO of the Heat and Warm Fund, THAW. I didn't leave council and go become a Wall Street banker to get rich. I left to serve the most vulnerable people in this community. And I've learned, not only have I learned and become a better manager and executive and CEO, which I want to bring back to the city, but I've also impacted thousands and thousands of lives in the city of Detroit. There are council members who called me regularly because constituents called them and say my lights were cut off.
What to do?
What did they do? They called Saunteel, right, at the Heat and Warm Fund. And that's not a knock. They did what they should have done. They called the place where there were resources. So I've been serving Detroiters my entire life. And when I stepped away from council, I went to serve Detroiters in a different way, in a way that I could not do as a council member.
Okay. Now, with that too, I think one of the things that goes unnoticed is that you were elected as city council president by your peers.
Correct. Yes.
And that's kind of unusual, So what I say about that is that speaks to your character, that your peers are saying, okay, we want her to take the mantle, because the previous president, he
Don't. I got a question about that. So let's save that.
You get them
okay
early.
we'll get back to that.
Put a pin
That
there.
sounds like a setup.
I think
I got
though,
you back.
one of the things that's interesting too is you have the ability of having been a part of council, and now you're outside, so you can objectively look at what it is. And we've got two candidates that are currently on city council. And I think when we start to do, or when candidates start to do opposition research on each other, for the folks that are on the council now, I think that it's not a good thing, because you can pick at everything that they've done that hasn't necessarily been conducive to the success of the citizens of Detroit. So I say that in terms of you being able to see both sides, it makes it a little better. And we're going to get to the elephant in the room about, fam, we had a debate a couple of days ago here in the city. And I'll say, in Carlisle, we talked about it, that was a mic drop moment. And nobody, I know I didn't, expected that. But what it does is it shows that, again, how passionate you are.
I just
appreciate that.
I want to frame it a little bit. The debate was pretty pedestrian, for the most part. There was some, and debates nowadays, like you said, political discourse in 2025 is a lot different than political discourse in 1995. So there's a lot of chippiness that's almost inherited into what is going to happen now. And like I said, it was pretty pedestrian. People answered questions the way they did, and so on and so forth. And then at the end, you, with your quiet spirit, pointed out some things about the candidates that were on the stage with you that, and Eugene described it as a mic drop moment, but I think you said things that other people had been already thinking. So,
Oh, it ruffled some feathers because if I remember correctly, former chief of police was like, "Oh, the gloves is off now." Like, dude, come on now.
So that's the question I want to get to. So one of the things, the former chief of police, one of the former chiefs of police, because Detroit goes through them like Prince changed girlfriends, but one of the former chiefs of police said,
"Did you just call the chief vanity?"
Ooh, more like Apollonia.
There you go.
And
Choice of words.
And I
Choice of
just,
words.
I love DPD, but that's a whole nother topic. But one of the things that I think that police, and this particular police officer, former police officer says, is that how do you help keep the streets of Detroit safe? And he even said it in the debate, put more police on the street.
Yes.
And I don't think that that's how you solve crime. I don't personally. That's how you arrest more people.
That's right.
And which is what you said. You said, if you want more guns in schools and your children locked up, then this candidate is for you. I guess my question is, you said more guns in schools. How do you?
So that comment was based on, if you recall, when Chief Craig when he was still our chief, and there was a school shooting, there were debates about how to keep our schools safe. And his recommended solution was allowing teachers and principals and school administrators to carry guns.
Okay. Okay.
This is a police chief who has been on the cover of NRA magazine. So he is a proponent of guns. So that's what that comment was about. And at the previous debate, he talked about needing more boot camps. Well, I've worked in so-called boot camps for kids, right? My first job out of grad school was a residential lockup facility for adjudicated youth. I was an adolescent therapist. They're not set up to save our kids. They're not set up to help our kids. They're set up to house and lock up kids. That is not how you create a better community. And certainly we need an adequate number of police officers, but we make our community safer and stronger by raising strong boys and girls.
Agreed.
It's about prevention. For every dollar we're putting into after-school programs and prevention, we're putting $5 to $7 into Wayne County Juvenile Facility and Wayne County Jail. We got to reverse that. And if your approach is just more police, then your solution really is locking up more people.
Let me ask real quick, Mrs. Jenkins, how do you feel about residency requirements? Do you think that all City of Detroit employees should live in the city?
I would love for every City of Detroit employee to live in the city. Yes.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. Our state law does not allow cities to require that anymore. That was outlawed while Dennis Archer was mayor. He did fight against it, but the state lobby was a little too strong. Yeah. So
I mean, I asked that because, to Carl's point, when we're talking about police, I think that would help tremendously, because we knew coming up in the 70s and the 80s, there was just certain things that you didn't do. We knew that certain police officers, had a way of doing things. And I think now it kind of feeds into a lot of the youth of today and their distrust of the police because they're treated a certain way by somebody that's not in their community.
Yes.
And I think, that's something that it would really help if we could change that. So, B, I want to go ahead and toss you. You got some questions for
Can I just say quickly on
Yes, ma'am.
on that piece? I am a huge proponent of community policing. For that reason, we can't require that police officers live in the city of Detroit. I think there are ways we could be creative and offer incentives or bonuses for people who live in the city.
Mhm.
But community policing should be our department philosophy, not just a couple of officers in each precinct.
Mm.
That's how we should be trained starting in the academy, understanding the community, understanding the culture. It's the only way that you build trust, and they should be there not only when crimes are being reported, they should be there on a daily basis, walking the block, stopping into businesses saying, "Hey, I'm Officer Jenkins, how you doing? I'll see you later this week." Whatever the business is, they should show up at schools. I don't know if you all remember Blue Pigs.
Oh yeah.
I have a cousin that was in the Blue Pigs.
Oh, see? Exactly. But
We look
the
forward
cool
to 'em
thing
coming
is,
soon.
exactly, right? And we saw police officers as human beings, and we could see them in a way that was fun and entertaining and not threatening or intimidating. Things like that make a difference. And it's all a part of that whole community policing philosophy that we need to lean into.
Awesome. So I know we have a kind of a more personal setting here. So I know your political talk 365 until this is over. We wish you do win it, so we're rooting for you. But
Thank you.
I feel like
Is that an
enough-
endorsement, B?
I can endorse people.
You
I
just
receive
did.
You just
it.
did.
Hey,
I
look at that.
receive it.
You got an endorsement from Brandon. But what I want to know is, I feel
Can
like
I list that on my literature?
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Right.
So my personal thought is, like, we get to hear a lot about your agenda, what you want to do, what you plan to do, but I also feel a big proportion is we need to know who we're voting for, because you can see on the larger national scale, we're seeing who we voted for, and we're like getting a little buyer's remorse. So I've heard you talk. You say you have
We didn't vote for Trump, man. Come
some
on.
people do have
Well,
buyer's
we
remorse.
didn't. We talking.
Well, you
I'm
know
not
where
even-
I'm going.
I'm not even just gonna say Trump. There's some other.
You know,
there's
that's
some
why
other
I left that
candidates that you
open ended, so you
Okay.
can assume who I'm
Yeah.
referring to. You got to be inferring there. But you hinted a lot at your spirit of service that you kind of say you have, and if you think you do believe you have one, do you feel like that's your strongest trait in this race, or is there something else that you have, like, you know, you have a gift of gab where you can network like you have with Thor, or what do you think is something on the personal side that gives you an edge in this race?
Oh, that's a great question. I think there are several things, and on the personal side and professional side. But on the personal side, the fact that, I was born and raised here. I didn't come here to run for mayor. I didn't move back here because it was cool. I've been here, I stayed, and I stuck it out. And I'm not judging anybody who
Yeah, exactly.
left. We all have to make our own decisions. But when I came out of school and all of my friends were going away to college, my thing was, if everybody who can leave leaves, what happens to the people who stay?
Mm.
So I've always wanted to give everything I have back to the city of Detroit. So that's part of it, is that lifelong passion. But it is also that I've served and been the Detroiter that I'm serving, right? The kids that I was serving at the Boys and Girls Republic, which was the youth facility I talked about. When my brother died and I was going through my anger phase and I was going to quit school. But I talked to my mother about quitting school, and my mother reminded me how lucky my brother was. She said he was loved every day. He didn't have everything he wanted, but he had love, he had nurturing, he had care. The kids that thought his jacket was worth more than his life, she said, that's why you have to finish school, because if those kids had some nurturing, some intervention, some love, your brother would be alive. So you got to do this for all of our babies. So my approach at the Boys and Girls Republic was based on that voice in my head that we don't have any throwaway kids in this community, right? So it's based on my personal experiences that I bring to the table. My passion at Thaw, I've lived in a house with no heat, no electricity, no water. So I bring a passion and an understanding, and it's not to say that you got to struggle to understand people, but when you do, you see it, you feel it in a different way. So what I bring to the table is I see Detroit. I see what people are going through every day, and I'm so grateful that God has brought me through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there have been some tragedies, but they've turned into triumphs. And because I've been able to live a life that has been full of so many blessings, I want to give it all back. And I want the folks who are going through it now to see me and say, if she got through it, I can get through it too.
That's big. That's big.
You know, and I can do this too. So I think that's the personal edge that I bring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what one of the questions I get so often is, are you tough enough? You seem so nice. You're so soft spoken. And I am nice. I am soft spoken, but it's a falsehood to believe that you have to be loud to be tough.
Yeah.
Or that you have to be mean or bullish to be able to get things done.
Agreed.
I've survived things in my life that people can't even imagine, and they've made me stronger. And I won't even say tougher, but stronger. And the passion, the reason behind me doing what I do gives me the kind of focus and tenacity that other folks don't have. So that's the difference, I believe, or the edge that I bring to it.
That's a great answer. And then another one which we kind of see too is now you're reaching different generations. And you're in the TikTok era, you know. So
Yes.
I know you kind of know where I'm going with that. So when you've got people looking at you for candidacy versus somebody that can't even get on TikTok and like, okay, and then you got other candidates like, let me get on TikTok and reach the 18-year-olds and up to get that young batch.
Yes.
How do you feel that you're preparing to reach Gen X, Y, and Z and the boomers to, you know, because you got to capture as much as you can from all those groups. So
Absolutely.
what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, so I don't think I'm having any issues reaching the boomers and Gen X. I am Gen X. But also I have a group, yep, I just called myself old. But I have, listen, I wasn't going to put you out there.
We're not.
Oh, no.
We're seasoned.
Exactly.
We're not old,
Exactly.
we're
Experienced.
seasoned. We are experienced. And experience matters.
That's right.
Right? Experience matters. But I have a group of amazing young folks on my team who have dubbed themselves the Jenkins generation. Jenkins is
okay.
with a Z, which I think is pretty cool. And they are teaching me how to reach. And I think I know, but the truth is nobody knows better than Generation Z what they want to hear, what they want to focus on. Millennials, I've worked with a lot of millennials, and I have millennials working with me on the campaign as well.
Okay, great.
You know, the truth is I'm not great on social media because I'm
understandable.
focused on doing the work. But they are helping push me out there and helping.
Oh, great.
You know, they're helping me raise my cool factor.
That's a well-rounded approach. I like it. You got to start somewhere. So.
Right.
You got B's vote.
There we go. We solicited, as Carl mentioned, candidate Jenkins questions, and one of the questions I got was from the senior population. They feel forgotten, and they feel like, you know, it's been growing over the years.
Yes.
And one person asked me specifically, well, Eugene, can you ask her what types of programs would she be looking to institute for seniors? You know, I know you guys just recently, candidates went on a ride along, you know, buses and stuff like that. So we've heard candidates say, well, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But for me, I like to deal more in specifics. So can you share with us some initiatives that you would have for the senior population in the city of Detroit?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the question. One of the first things that I will do is bring our senior department back. We used to have a senior department in the city of Detroit. Now it's a division within a department. And our senior population, Detroit is an aging city. We have a very large senior population, and they need advocates. So we would bring back the senior department where they would have advocates on the ground working for them fighting for them every day, and focus on the issues that the aging population deals with. Part of campaigning, you all probably know, candidates are in and out of senior buildings all the time.
Mhm.
The ride-alongs that you talk about, and I was the first candidate that actually went out and rode the buses. I met 2 seniors at a bus stop on East Warren. We sat there together probably 35 minutes waiting for the bus, and they started telling me about the building that they lived in. She told me, "Miss Jenkins, you cannot fix a plate of food, put it down, walk away, and come back and eat it, because by the time you walk away and come back, the roaches have gotten to it." Are you kidding me? Nobody should have to live. Nobody should have to live that way, especially a grandmother, somebody who has given their life to this city. So we need folks who are out there on the ground, making sure that we are inspecting the senior buildings and making sure that they are clean and safe, and affordable. This same building, they talked about people coming in and sleeping in the stairways. Homelessness is another issue that we need to address, but certainly the answer to that is not people sleeping in the stairway of a building where there are 80 and 90-year-olds living. That is not the answer. So we need the senior department back. When I talk about programs for schools and young people, safe spaces and places, and having recreation centers, community centers, and schools open between the hours of 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. For our young people, it's because those are the most dangerous hours of the day for kids. But those spaces will also be open for our seniors so that they have senior activities. There's cross-generational activities for the seniors and the youth. They can learn from each other. That's another thing that's specifically focused on seniors. And then when we talk about affordable housing, often we think about our young folks, we think about the lowest income people in our community, which it's important. We have affordable housing for every income level, but we need affordable housing for every stage of life as well.
Yes, ma'am.
As people age in the city of Detroit, they often have to make choices between staying here and going to the suburbs because there are more options for seniors in the suburbs. So I would have a housing plan for seniors to create more diverse senior housing, whether you want to live in a high rise or age in place at your own home, or live in a senior community where you have your own door and it's a small ranch community. We have to have good options for seniors.
Carl.
And I appreciate that question because the senior population is very vulnerable, and I'm on my way there. So,
Oh no, you're not.
with
No,
God's grace,
Well, listen,
Being modest.
that's right. We're all on our way there.
I'm
There's
with you.
only one way to not become a senior.
That's it. That's what I
And
tell
right?
people. You only got one other option. So, but I want to go back to, I guess, law and order. I know crime is a big issue, and not just in Detroit, but in any urban setting. You know, everybody wants somebody that's going to be tough on crime. And I'm also circling back to kind of what Eugene brought up earlier. I want to take a little different take on this. Since, I'd say in the last 33 years in the city of Detroit, we've had a police chief, 6 city council members who were charged with various crimes. Some of them spent time in prison. Some of them were your colleagues, and a mayor. And the police chief and the mayor both spent time in federal prison as well. I've seen stories where the FBI will send field agents to Detroit to get their chops because they say it's always something going on in Detroit. You can get a lot of experience because corruption is part of the fabric of the city.
No.
I agree. No.
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
So my question is, one, how do you feel about that? And if it is or if it isn't, how do you think that your role as mayor would be to kind of stomp that out, so to speak, or either change that perception even?
So first, there is crime and corruption everywhere, but the overwhelming majority of Detroiters are good, law-abiding citizens. Full stop, period. And we have had corruption as it relates to elected officials, but even the overwhelming majority of our elected officials have been law-abiding citizens. Even some who weren't necessarily great elected officials, they were law-abiding citizens. So I just think it's important to say that, right? That most of our Detroiters are good people.
Okay.
But also, as a leader, you set the tone, right? You set the tone. And I don't believe that power corrupts. I don't believe that money corrupts. I believe that money and power give you room to be who you really are. So I when we look at folks and what happened when they were elected, I believe that we're looking at who we elected. It didn't happen after they were elected. That's why it's really important to look at people's backgrounds, their past, what they've done, what they haven't done, who they align themselves with. And it's important for the leader to set the tone. It's very important for the leader to set the tone.
I think I just want to make sure, and you're right. I think people have this perception because obviously when things happen, it's really blown up in the media and it's given this whole, you know, stigma, so to speak, around the city. In my 9 to 5, I've worked with my company. We're kind of a nationwide company. So when I'd be on meetings and I'd say, where is everybody from? And I'm saying, I'm in Detroit. And they'll say, oh, and this was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Something happened with the mayor there, right? Didn't
Exactly.
he? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yes.
we've
right.
moved
We
past
dealt with
that,
that.
and
Exactly.
but those are the things that, even with our young people, and you'll hear this too from a younger generation. Well, how you going to talk to me about, I guess, being good when our leaders
That's right.
are, doing what they're doing?
That's right.
So I think that it is very important that whoever is elected mayor does set that tone to say we're not that type of city.
That's right.
And if things happen like that, like you said, it's more of an indictment on that person rather than an indictment on the city.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's why I'm a big proportion. I'm sorry to cut in, but finding out who the candidate is versus just what they want to do. I think that's huge. So
Yes.
that helps your issue too, Carl.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too that you can see the candidates that are out there, the ones that are like true politicians, because you got that, with
yeah,
the
well,
pointing of
Mhm.
I wanted to ask candidate Jenkins, when we look at your elected mayor, you look at your first 100 days, what would be your plan for the first 100 days being in office?
So the first thing would be a revenue estimating conference. And the city has 2 revenue estimating conferences a year right now. And the first one is in February. I would move that up to literally my first week in office. And we'd start planning for it during the transition. The reason being, we will not have the same level of revenue coming in that our current mayor has. The nearly $1 billion in federal funding we've gotten since 2020 in COVID dollars will be going away, right? The city has gotten $949 million in COVID funding that has come. About 830 million of that came directly to the city, and the rest of it went to Wayne County, but it was focused on the city of Detroit. We won't have that revenue. We will have to pay pension payments that have been delayed for 10 years. That's $136 to $156 million a year that we didn't have to pay. We have grand bargain revenue coming to the city that will go away under the next mayor. And right now, as you look around, companies are starting to lay people off. So that will impact our income taxes as well. So the first thing the mayor needs to do is understand what our financial picture really is, because that will determine how you prioritize everything else in your administration. The second thing that I will be doing, part of my plan is a strategic plan for the entire city that is broken out in each of the 7 districts. It accounts for each of the 7 districts. And that plan will be built with residents across the city. So we will be talking to residents throughout the city about what you want to see. I want to see a commercial corridor in each of the 7 districts. And residents should say what that commercial corridor looks like. Office parks in the neighborhoods. It might be a technology office park. It could be a traditional office park, because if you're an entrepreneur or startup and you can't afford office space downtown, midtown, Corktown, you're probably going to an outer ring suburb to find affordable space. If we make it available in the neighborhoods, that's helpful for everybody. So we'll start talking to residents about what they want in their neighborhoods. And if in District 2 they say we want another coffee shop, 2 grocery stores, and a movie theater, then we are offering our incentives to builders who are going to build those things that residents have said they want, versus waiting for developers to come to us and say, this is what I want to build, and this is where I want to build it.
Okay. Okay. Speaking of incentives, we have a lot of companies and corporations that have come into the city. And one thing that I've never really fully understood is the level of tax abatements that are given out. I mean, we've got tax abatements we're giving to companies from 5 to 10 to 30 years. And basically, you're not paying any. I mean, and I don't understand how we can continue down that road. So, what would be your plan to grow the tax base in the city of Detroit?
So a couple things. I will have a chief growth officer whose sole focus will be, how do we grow our tax base through jobs and population. They'll be focused on jobs and population and growing both. But the other thing is, although tax abatements are controversial, we have to have them in order to have development in the city of Detroit for a couple of reasons. Redlining is still real, and it is still very hard to get financing for projects in the city of Detroit. Even downtown, it is still harder to get financing in the city of Detroit than it is to get financing even in other places within Wayne County or the Tri-County area. And then when you add to that the fact that Detroit has the highest property tax rate in our state and one of the highest property tax rates in the country, when we're competing for business, that's one of the things companies are looking at. So we have to find ways to level the playing field. Now, when we're offering those tax abatements, what we have to do is make sure Detroiters are getting something in return. And that's, for me, part of that is offering those abatements for you to come and build something on Wyoming, right? On Plymouth, on, Mac, so that we're building out our neighborhoods. But the other piece of it is employing Detroiters. And if we are, especially when we bring large employers here, the Chrysler plant, it took years, the planning, right? The land assembly, building the plant, etc. And then the plant opens and you start testing, and we're hearing Detroiters are, and I said Chrysler, Stellantis, but it's funny. Everybody in this room was like,
we
yes,
know
yes,
exactly what you're talking
yes,
about.
right?
We're Detroiters. We are.
Right.
We already know.
Right. But we hear, well, Detroiters can't pass the test. Well, we can talk about what the testing is. We can talk about multiple things, but we can also talk about the city's part. We've had years to make sure we were prepared for that, right? So our workforce training needs to be intentional, and we should be talking to employers that we're bringing here saying, what do you need today? What do you need 12 months from now? What do you need 5 years from now? And then we should be spending our workforce training dollars on making sure Detroiters are prepared for 12 months, 5 years, 2 years, whatever it is from now.
So in that, and also circling back, you talked about working with the schools, and we've talked about this on previous podcasts where the
Yes.
mayor's office does not directly control Detroit Public Schools, and don't know the new title of it. I still say DPS.
I know.
'Cause-
Just
So
add
we're used to
CD.
it.
DPS CD. There you
Right.
go. I think that what you're saying is correct, that there does need to be some additional job training and so forth. But what would be your plan for the mayor's office working with DPSCD in order to make sure that one, graduation rates are above 24% or whatever that is now? If there are trade options, if there are job readiness programs, what would the mayor's office do?
So I would use the convening power of the mayor's office to strengthen training programs and get more focus on not only 2 and 4 year college programs, but the trades, right? Everybody is not going to go to college, and that is okay. College isn't for everybody, but learning is for everybody. So if it's not a college, then you should be learning a trade. So it's working with the trades to ensure that we are strengthening our vocational schools. And we still have some vocational schools in DPS, but the schools have 200 kids, 400 kids in the programs. We should have 1,000 kids, right, in our VOTEC schools like we used to back in the day. So it's working with the schools to strengthen that and create real career pathways for our kids. I always say cradle to career because we have to have the early childhood education, which is also an impediment to jobs because if your paycheck is less than the cost of childcare, you probably won't go to work, right? So it is affordable, high-quality childcare, and then it is having those career pathways all the way through the educational years. And our after-school programs, the jobs programs, summer jobs, after-school jobs, they should be helping prepare kids for careers as well. If you're interested in journalism, we should be setting up your after-school programs with Free Press, News, Bridge Detroit, right, with the Michigan Chronicle, so that you're exposed to what you want to do. If you're interested in arts or engineering, then we just have to be much more intentional. And the mayor's office can help make that happen. And the last thing is I will have a mayor's scholar program, and the mayor's scholar program will be focused on 8th and 9th graders. The reason it's focused on 8th and 9th graders is those are the 2 years that are the biggest indicators of whether or not a child will graduate high school. So we want to focus on 8th and 9th grade to help improve those graduation rates that you talked about.
Quick one I'll throw in before we hunker down. Talking about the youth a little bit, and I remember in my younger years, I want to say high school, college, and finishing out. You see a lot of us, my peers, was like, I don't like it here. I want to move out of Detroit.
Yes.
So you're coming into your candidacy, and say you're looking at a generation of high school grads that could probably, both take their way into a career outside the city, or college graduates that say, once I'm done, I'm leaving the city or state. Do you have a plan of action to say, hey, stay in Detroit? Is because you're combating a lot of people that's saying, once I get this degree, I'm out of here. It's too expensive. The redlining, all that. I can go 2 cities over, buy a house or rent way cheaper than Detroit, or get the benefits like, my car insurance is too high. We go over here, save a couple dollars. I'm young, so you have a plan to get those young
Go to
people
Atlanta
that
or
are
Houston. That's where everybody's going.
yeah, keep them out of
Right.
Atlanta, Houston. So do you kind of have a plan of action to say, hey, wait, come back or stay?
Yes. And again, that will be part of what that chief growth officer is focusing on. But also, we have to give our young people options. So that's why when I talk about affordable housing, I say for every level. We have to have affordable housing for our lowest income families.
Mhm.
But generally, when you hear the conversations, it stops there. I meet people all the time who are young couples, just got married,
Exactly.
just finished college, and they're like, well, I bought a place in X suburb because I couldn't find one that I could afford in Detroit,
Bingo. Yep.
right? Affordability means different things for different people.
Mhm.
So it's creating that affordability. It's why we have to strengthen our schools because we'll have people who can afford to come hang out downtown.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I got my apartment. I'm walking
Exactly.
everywhere.
Yep.
And then I get married and I'm ready to raise a family. And then I have to make some other choices,
Bingo.
Yep.
right? So it's also why we have to strengthen our schools. We can't do one without the other.
Mhm.
And this is, I believe, one of my biggest strengths coming to the table as a social worker.
Mm.
Because as a social worker, you're taught to look at systems, right? It goes back to that Band Aid
Mhm.
approach. When you're looking at systems, you understand that I can't say I don't control the school, so I don't want anything to do with it. Well, if I want a
Yeah.
strong city, I want strong schools. So we have to partner and we have to understand that we have to create an environment that is welcoming and conducive to young folks who have finished college, young folks who aren't going to college, for
Mhm.
young folks who want to party, and young folks who want to start a family.
Exactly.
Detroit has to have options for everybody. And the last piece is I believe with global climate change, Michigan is going to be the place to be.
I'm not leaving.
It's going to be all the places that folks are going to as climate change gets more extreme, more severe. One of the safest places in this country to be will be the state of Michigan. And if you're coming to Michigan,
Come to
the
Detroit.
place to be
Detroit.
is Detroit. And we will definitely capitalize on that.
Awesome.
Last question before we give you an opportunity to close us out, Candidate Jenkins. Community.
Mm.
When I think of community, I think of diversity, people coming together. And it seems in the last probably 5 to 10 years, we've had uh, a resurgence of community activism
Mhm.
and various groups. Interestingly enough, some are taking different approaches. Some are radical and in your face, and others have more of a softer approach.
Mhm.
So, as mayor, how would you bridge that gap to include these community organizations in the continued resurgence of the city of Detroit?
Mhm. Thank you. That's going to be very important for the mayor as we move forward. And again, it's part of my roots in social work. It's my coming from the office of Mary Ann Mahaffey, who was a true activist. All voices need to be heard. Some will be quiet, some will be louder, but everybody deserves for their voice to be heard and everybody deserves to be included. It's part of why that strategic planning process is also important because that will include residents, it will include block clubs and community groups, and it will help people feel like they're a part of the process. One of the negatives that I hear often is people talking about gentrification and being forced out.
Mhm.
I have yet to hear somebody in Detroit say, I don't want to see our city grow and prosper. The difference between growth and gentrification is one happens to you and one happens with you. So that planning will be a process that enables all Detroiters, radical, not radical, new Detroiters, legacy Detroiters, for us to all grow, plan, and prosper together.
Okay. So, with that being said, we're going to, as you opened up our show, we're going to let you close it out and tell the city of Detroit why they should vote for Saunteel Jenkins as their next mayor.
Thank you. First of all, this has been so enjoyable. I appreciate you all. And look, thank you. thank you for the unofficial endorsement, Mr. Saunteel.
You're welcome.
Right.
Not a
See,
problem.
right?
Not a problem.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, you're good.
He's his own man. He
Yeah,
can,
yeah. I'll be fine. We're good. We are good.
And thank you for rocking the pink, because real men wear pink, right?
Exactly.
And see, here's the thing.
There we go.
I want to be Detroit's next mayor because I do want it to be a place where we can all grow, plan, and prosper together. I want it to be a place where no matter what neighborhood you grew up in, the possibilities are endless for you. I want Detroiters to see themselves in me. I want my 12-year-old self to be able to look at me and say, if she could do it, I can too. I want my 14-year-old brother to be able to look at me and say, if she can do it, I can too. It's so important that we're able to see ourselves in our leaders. And it's important that we have leaders who are truly focused on the people and the people's business. I am asking you, Detroit, for your vote, for your trust, for your support. And I will always be focused on you. I'll always put people over power and people over politics. I am in this for you. I'm Saunteel Jenkins, and I want to be your next mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saunteel Jenkins, for joining us today. Fam, you got a choice. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. We just want to make sure that you get out there and vote.
I need the young generation.
As always, we like to say, stay prayerful, stay patient, stay positive, stay peaceful. See you guys next time.